This section has a look at some of the characteristics that we would associate with social software. And by social, what we mean is that the software has an awareness of what we would define as social norms, that it helps its users connect to other appropriate users and helps them integrate or collaborate or work with one another. We don't necessarily mean here applications which are exclusively social in terms of their application, but any type of application that benefits from users interacting together or sharing or collaborating with one another. So in terms of what types of characteristics represent good social software, the first one is that our social software should enable users to present their best side. What that means is that the software should let the users decide how they want to appear to other users, how they want to present themselves. And that can include things like their display name, the icon or image that they use to associate themselves with, maybe down to preferences they have for certain borders or layouts or colors in the application. Now, there isn't a bit of an aside here, because sometimes, depending on the organization, there may be corporate elements that, in terms of brand identity, that have to be consistently applied across it. So of course it's always important then to understand what must be the common aspects that represent belonging to a particular group or corporate identity, alongside then how do we let the user individualize and personalize that so that they feel it represents themselves. Social software also lets users share their contributions. And this ties into things like telling other people what they've done, what they've liked, being able to provide comments on different activities, being able to update people on what their tasks are, what they're getting on with, what their interests are, and so on. So what users do, good social software will let you appropriately share that. And the key aspect there is the notion of appropriately sharing it. So of course, we let our users control and determine what is shared, what types of information they want to share, and to whom do they want to share that information with. Final bit at the bottom is actually quite important, that the default sharing settings, so just how it's out of the box, the default settings, they should work for the vast majority of users. We don't want users to go in to have to tweak and to customize their particular preferences. Rather, the default preference are ones that will work for most users, if that's possible. Social software permits easy collaboration. That's sort of key then to the notion of what it means to engage socially then with others, that we want to not only to share information and to look at other people's doing, but to bring people together so they can interact with one another, so they can collaborate. And good social software then makes it easy for this to happen, both in terms of gathering other people's opinions about what they think about this, through to eliciting, for example, their comments, be a type of opinion, through to getting them to actually collaborate and work together in pairs, small teams, or larger groupings on some shared or common activity. The tools that are made available for doing this, ideally they are closely and cleanly integrated into the application. So we don't want to have the users to have a completely separate set of tools that they use to manage their collaboration. Rather, if we're dealing with something like, for example, documents, then we should build into our application the ability for other users to add their comments in, to see what other people have said, to reply to that, to work together on that particular document. Social software helps networks grow organically. And I suppose this ties into the idea that when people are collaborating with others, they'll have set up and established their own network, and over time that network generally tends to grow. And good social software then will make it easy for its users to identify other people that they may want to collaborate or to connect with. So other people who are relevant to what they do or share their interests or provide a useful complementary skill set to the particular area they're looking at. And one of the things about networks as they grow is that you need to have abilities for the users to control that growth. That as we go from 10 to 50 to 500 users, that we don't introduce any elements that become unmanageable, and we provide a rich set of tools to our users to enable them to control, to manage, to look after their network of connections. Social products also deal appropriately with anti-social behavior. This is incredibly important and is also quite a sensitive aspect as well. Unfortunately, in many types of environments, antisocial behavior can be expected to occur and has to then be built into how the software deals with things. So social softwares, if they're good ones, they do provide us a way of handling behavior that sort of abuses social norms, that interferes with smooth operation of how a network would normally work. And it covers terms like griefers or trolls or scammers or all of the other types of sort of negative actor that you might have inside those networks. How do you do that? Well, you need to have tools that enable you to detect the behavior, to report it, to escalate it as appropriate, to silence or to exclude the individuals who are engaging in this type of behavior. And where it becomes complicated is that whilst we need to avoid antisocial behavior, we need to make sure we are important then not to exclude people who are stating an unpopular but valid opinion. So elements of free speech come into this here, and elements then of letting people express views that may be unpopular but in and of themselves are not unsocial. And that can be sort of a sensitive and complex topic in some cases to untangle what we should do, and where one person's valid view becomes another person's feeling of social abuse. The penultimate slide then is that social products respect other users' privacy. And again, that's a key, utterly fundamental, really important element of this. If you're dealing with looking at social activities in terms of preferences and what people are sharing and who they're connected with, that is important, rich information about that individual. And if we're collecting and facilitating this, we must respect the user's privacy. So in terms of the data that we collect, we have to make sure we are protecting it and storing it in an appropriate manner. We have to make sure that in terms of sharing or using that information, we only do so in ways that we have got the explicit, informed consent from our users. In fact, quite often it's illegal to use it in any other way. And an important bit of this is the idea of uninformed consent, where the user clicks on something or says they agree to something without really understanding what it is they have agreed to. That's wrong. We shouldn't do it. And it's up to us then to make sure through our software in terms of what we're asking our users to agree to, we are clear, we're explicit, and we present it in a way where they can understand what they are agreeing to. Finally then, social products understand the need for productivity and focus. And that is to say that even in products which are entirely socially oriented, very often our users will want not to be bothered by interruptions. They will want to focus on a particular activity or task for any number of reasons. And it's really important that good social software understands this and provides the user with appropriate tools for them to be able to indicate when they don't want to be disturbed, or otherwise uses mechanisms to decide, is now the right time to inform the user about something, or should it do a silent notification where they can pick up on this later on. So again, really important aspect to be able to control that element. So that's a number of different topics we've had a look at around what makes good social software. And it is all about enabling our users to express themselves, to share information, to connect easily with others, to collaborate with others, and to do so in a way that is safe, that is secure, that is supportive. And that's all we want to say inside this particular section. In the next section, we're going to go on to have a look at some of the other characteristics of our users that we need to provide support for when we think about accessibility needs, when we think about the different types of experience that our users might have of using our particular piece of software.